Welcome back to the Milwaukee Show, and we are here to talk all about the Pittsburgh Penguins and their going-ons. Now, Kyle Dubas has been hired seemingly for one job only, and that job was not to come in with his amazing brain and his nice style of being able to seemingly create a great team that can't win the Stanley Cup, but no. He's been hired to not knock down the pillars and start from fresh and make his own dynasty. His job and only job is to make this current core, this dynasty of Hall of Fame players, get one more Stanley Cup. And that is an interesting premise because this team is going for the playoffs still. Well, they should be trying to rebuild. I mean, this is the perfect time to strike for a rebuild. I mean, you still got the aging players, and you can put the young guys in the lineup, and they can grow and develop, learning from a couple of the best players of all time in Malkin and Sid the Kid Crosby, and also Chris Letang on the back end. They've got some true, I mean, we all know, I don't got to tell you, they've got Hall of Famers all up and down this lineup. But instead of doing that and building for the future, they're saying screw a rebuild, screw not even just a rebuild, but a retool, screw any of that. We are still here to win the Stanley Cup. And I guess if that's what they're doing, let's see what they got to do. So currently, they are at $2.3 million over the cap, which means they've obviously got to move something out of the way. They are an aging team. They are definitely not getting any younger by any means. Literally, just the opposite of that. Every player they seem to bring onto the team is above 30 years old. It's just one thing after the other. This team is aging, just aging. And at the end of the day, this team is just mid. Just mid. They are the definition because they're not bad. Definitely not bad. I mean, you still got Crosby and Malkin, the guys that I keep listing in the lineup, Jake Gensel as well. They got a lot of good players on this team. Jari's a good goalie, good enough goalie. But at the end of the day, they missed the playoffs last season, and then the year before that, they made it into the playoffs, and they've made it for the last few years, except this last one, and they get knocked out in the first round when they do get in. So this team overall is just mid. They just are not good enough. And that's really what I think it all comes down to the end of the day. And so Dubas is here to step in for this offseason. He's like, attention! We are here to make a good Stanley Cup winning team. And what has he done so far? Well, he's brought on and traded for Riley Smith, and which I think is a pretty good add, left winger. I think they do need one of those. Replace Jason Zucker, who's now out to Arizona. 26 goals last season, 56 points. Not that bad at all, especially for a second-line winger. And if he can, I mean, playing with Evgeny Malkin, being able to kind of play a little bit more freely offensively. I think the Golden Knights have a lot more structure to the way they play. I think Smith kind of being given more of a... I think he's going to have more of an opportunity to have the spotlight in Pittsburgh than in Vegas because there's so many good players in Vegas. I think Pittsburgh's going to give him more of an opportunity to get to maybe 60 points, maybe even, who knows, maybe he pairs well with Malkin or Crosby, gets to 70. Just saying, kind of being optimistic here. So I like the pickup in Riley Smith. $5 million cap hit isn't that bad at all. Just for 56 points and a cap rising. Why not? Not too bad there. Then they also bring on solid shutdown defenseman Ryan Graves. I have been a fan of Ryan Graves for the longest time. And I think Pittsburgh, who really needs some more solid just defensemen in general, I think having him being the right-handed guy, I think he's right-handed, but just being on that defense, being able to be put on the penalty kill, and just be in all scenarios to shut down teams when they go, especially in the heavy metropolitan that they're in, being such heavy hitters offensively, to put him on the ice and have him out there to shut down certain plays like the New Jersey Devils running guns off the rush style of play, have him back there to shut them down. Same thing with Carolina. I think is a solid move, so nice pickup in Ryan Graves. Nedeljkovic is a solid backup goaltender. I really like that move. I think now they're going to be able to move out Casey DeSmith. Maybe they can bring something in return for him. Who knows? And solid there. And then the depth signings that they've picked up. Lars Eller, Matt Nieto, Vinny Hinostroza, Andreas Janssen, I think was the most recent one now. They got a couple really solid depth guys that I think are really going to pad out the bottom six. And really, I just like what they've done. I mean, the additions Dubas has brought in this offseason, I have absolutely zero complaints about. And I just, overall, good job so far. So then when I take a step back, okay, like this, and I'm taking a look at this team, and I'm going to really dive in here, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, offensively, top six. I mean, Crosby, Gensel, Malkin, Smith now. I mean, overall, I mean, the top six is pretty good, I'd say. I mean, it's not like the best in the league, but you got two bona fide stars. Gensel and Smith are solid left-handed guys who can score some goals. And then on the right side, they've got a couple good hitters. I mean, you've got Ricard Raquel, you got Brian Russ, so a couple guys that can definitely bring some to the table. So top six, I like the top six, so they get a check there. Bottom six with those additions of Nieto, Eller, Hinestroza, who they already had, and O'Connor, Carter, Michael Granlund as a solid depth. I mean, I would say their top three lines are pretty solid, and fourth line's definitely not the worst in the NHL. Some playoff teams that are heavy hitters have worse fourth lines than what they've got. So offensively, I'm like, that definitely gets a check for me. I mean, it's not the biggest check in the world, but it's a check. Defensively, top three, this is where it's like, Letang, Ryan Graves, and you can take your pick of who you would say their third best defenseman is. But for their top three guys, I would say it's good enough. I mean, it's not the best. It's far from the best, but good enough. I would give it a check. Bottom three, I kind of feel like it's a check, but it's once again not that amazing. So I give it a check, maybe an X. I think it could be a little bit help out there. Guys like Ruedel kind of be like, is that really good enough? So for me, defense is, I would give it a check overall, but it's not like the best check in the world. And then goaltending starter, I like Tristan Jarry. He's good enough. He's definitely not going to win a Vezina trophy or anything like that, but he's gonna be capable to get the team to this playoffs. I mean, he's done it before. It's not like it's crazy to say that. They've made it to the playoffs with him in the past. No surprise there that he gets a check there. And backup goaltender Nedeljkovic, I even think Casey DeSmith was pretty good. But regardless of who they got as a backup goaltender, they get a check there. So all three of the primary boxes that you could check for this team before you get to power play and stuff like that. Just overall, the roster gets checks. But the thing is that they all get checks because they're good and they're fine, but they're just not great. And that's really my issue with this Penguins team, is that they're just not. Crosby and Malkin are not the players that they used to be. They're not going to be getting into hundreds of points, and Malkin's going to be able to win a Rocket Richard, and neither can Crosby. They're just not those guys anymore. They're good 70-point players, maybe into the 80 points. Who knows? Maybe if they get a little bit more help that I'll get into in a second, could maybe get into the 90 points if they could really go on a run on this last hurrah. But overall, just on this team on paper, they're good. But they're not great. They're not the New Jersey Devils. They're not the Hurricanes. They're not these teams that can get in the top three of their division. They are, though, in the wild card. And that's where this team needs to strike. And that's where they almost were last year. But then, what did they do? They screwed it all up and they let the Florida Panthers go on a Stanley Cup final reign. And now, this team is right there, and I definitely think they're better than last season already. Good enough for my eyes, especially with the injuries and what's going on with some teams right now. I easily could see this team making the wild card without a doubt. But once again, they get into the wild card, they go into the first round, they play the New Jersey Devils, and they're dead again. They make it in the first round, they play against the Rangers this year, dead. They make it in the first round, and they play the Hurricanes. They're killed immediately. Maybe it's a Atlantic team. Get in the first round, they play against the Maple Leafs, dead. So all the way I see this, and it's just because they can't compete. They have nothing. You compare their top six to Toronto's top six. They have nothing reason to be there. Defensively, I would say Maple Leafs defense is better than theirs now. Goaltending, they could beat the Maple Leafs, but other teams probably not so much. And that's my issue with this team, is that they're good, but not good enough. And if Kyle Dubas is going to lean into the say, hell to hell with a rebuild, we don't need that, we've got some great stars here on this team, then they have to commit. This is like taking an exit on the highway. This is not like a kind of move over scenario. You have to go on that exit. You can't just stay in the middle and then run into the median, right? You can't do that. You have to take the exit and go away from the highway. You can't stay on like the medium path and just be like, whatever, I'm just going to kind of edge in the middle. I'm going to be rebuilding and get some young players while also at the same time trying to make this team win. If they are going to go on this last hoorah and try to win this Stanley Cup with these with these old players that they have and try to get this team one more Stanley Cup with these superstar players, these icon legends, they have to lean into it. They have to commit. They have to commit, and for me, Erik Karlsson's the stirrings, the rumor mill that they're going for him. For me, if I were Erik Karlsson, I'd be like, hell no, I don't want to go there. But if the Penguins have any way of getting him onto this team, I'd say go for it. If there was one thing I think this team really needs and a good centerpiece to is a solid, Chris Letang is kind of this, but he's not Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson's on another world if he can continue his 100-point reign. People, some reason, I get he plays no defense, but he was also on the San Jose Sharks last year. I'm sure he has no incentive to really play defense on a team that's just going to screw up anyways. So on the Penguins, if he's trying to win, he goes to Pittsburgh. This guy can generate offense from behind. His number one attribute is he can move the puck in that zone. He can never lose it if it's on his stick. If he's in the mode, no one's going to stop this guy. He'll set Crosby, set up Gensel, set up all these guys to get some goals and get some assists in, and this guy's absolutely fantastic. So if they can get a guy like him on this team, I'd say 100% go for it. Definitely, you got to commit to this win-now style, and Erik Karlsson's looking to win now. Just both of them on the same page. And the cap, I would say, you can easily move out a guy like Michael Granlund's contract, maybe someone else's deal as well. Maybe the Sharks retain just a little bit of amount of money. And they have draft picks, definitely can move those out. And for the Sharks, you take this risk, you send out Erik Karlsson, and maybe the Penguins suck afterwards, and then they get 2 high draft picks out of it. I see it's a win-win there. And then we've got the one that I think could be an interesting pickup for them, and that is William Nylander. He seems to be on his way out of Toronto anyways, just by the way things just are looking. And for me, if they do want to kind of be on the side of sort of rebuild and not rebuild, William Nylander, even if it's just for a rental this season, you pick up Nylander, only a $6 million deal, put him on the team, right-handed shot. I think it's perfect to fit with Sidney Crosby and if whoever he ends up playing with on that top line as well. Sidney Crosby with William Nylander definitely going to be producing a lot more chances to score with that tandem there, and he can walk next season, right? This is the win-now mode, 1-year contract, bring him on the team, walks next second, right? And his lower cap hit of only $6 million, easily move out Michael Granlund's deal and maybe someone else's, and there you go. Bob's your uncle, fan is your aunt. Got the guy on the team. Perfect there. Or even smaller deals in Noah Hanif and Elias Lindholm only to $4.8 to $4.9 million. Maybe you could even bring on both of them and really load up this team defensively. Hanifin, I think, would be great to really solidify that top 4 for them. And Elias Lindholm, we know what he can bring to the table. Guy's fantastic. Bring him on. Right-handed shot, can play center or wing. Put him on this team, I think would be perfect pairing there as well. So for me, they got to lean into it. They got to go full on with this win-now mode. They can't just kind of edge and be like, yeah, we got Riley Smith and we got some depth guys and Hinostroza. We got some guys like that. We got a good backup goalie now. But they don't have what it takes to truly win. And I don't know if they're really looking to truly win. I think they just want, to be their name to be in the running. Get in the playoffs, and maybe they're not the favorites to win, but they win that first round. Maybe they can pull out a second-round win, and then they get knocked down in the Eastern Conference Final. But at least their guys got to go on a run. They got to go on a run, and then next season they go you know what? That was fun, but you know what? It's clear to us now we don't have what it takes, and they give up next season. The rebuild starts next year. I don't know. Maybe something like that happens, but regardless, to me, if they want to win now, they got to go. They have to go all in, and that's it. But that is all I got to say, so thank you for watching this, and yeah, thank you. If you made it this far, please, I'm begging you, pick up your free subscription, and until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.